أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. عباد الله، أوصيكم وإياي بتقوى الله وطاعته، وأحذركم وإياي عن عصيانه تعالى ومخالفة أمره. يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: من عمل صالحا فلنفسه ومن أساء فعليها وما ربك بظلام العبيد. We begin, my dear brothers and sisters, by beginning as we always do, by silencing ourselves as we sit quietly and emptying our hearts and minds from all of the thoughts and the emotions that course through them, in order that we can feel, or we may feel, the presence of Allah in our hearts, in our souls, in our minds more keenly. And in this state of peace and silence, we then say, Nashhadu, we bear witness that there is no God but God, the One, the Almighty, the Powerful, the Graceful, the All-Compassionate and All-Merciful, Creator of the heavens and the earth, and all that is between them, and the light of the heavens and the earth. And we complete this testimony by bearing witness that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his beloved servant and messenger, whom Allah sent for no other purpose than to be a mercy to the worlds. We invoke and call down Allah's blessings and peace and greetings upon the soul of this noble prophet and messenger, our exemplar, from whom we take our example and whose practice we follow in living a life that is as pleasing to God as we know. For God has said that whoever of you does good, does it for his own sake, to his own benefit. And whoever of you wrongs, has only wronged his own soul, for your Lord is not unjust to his servant. My dear brothers and sisters, a little over a week ago, I was invited to provide a Muslim invocation at an event at Yale University about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. A rabbi gave the Jewish invocation and I gave the Islamic or the Muslim invocation. The participants, all of whom participated by Zoom, were the Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Herzog, the ambassador of the United Arab Emirates to the United States, Yusuf Ataiba, Jared Kushner, and Dennis Ross. This event, hosted by the Yale School of Management, convened it as a way to calm the tensions that have been occurring on many university campuses across the country. While there, I met a gentleman, Bob Simmons, who is a film producer. And among the films he produced was a film called The Mauritanian, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Jodie Foster. This film happened to be on my list of films to watch on Netflix. So a few days ago, I watched it. It was about a Mauritanian called Mohamedou Slahi, who was arrested in Mauritania, his home country, and accused of being a participant in planning the 9/11 attacks on the United States. He was arrested and taken to Guantanamo, where he spent altogether a period of 14 years of his life. The movie tells the story of how the American government sought a court's judgment of capital punishment against Slahi. The American government's lawyer was played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and an American lady lawyer, played by Jodie Foster, was asked to take on his case pro bono. The movie shows that Slahi maintained his innocence, but because the American government wanted to punish someone for this crime, he was subjected to torture, to waterboarding and all such torture, until he confessed, not because he was guilty, but he confessed because he could no longer bear to be tortured. The movie shows how both the American government's lawyer and his lawyer tried to find out what, in fact, he was accused of and the evidence to back that accusation up. And they had to jump through all kinds of hoops to find any records. After looking through the records, both the government's lawyer and Salahi's lawyer discovered that he was subject to torture and that his confession was coerced. And such a confession is therefore not acceptable in a court of law. The American government's lawyer, on discovering this, resigned from his position as the government's lawyer, and Salahi's lawyer successfully utilized this fact to get Salahi to argue his case against the United States government. There was a particularly powerful scene in which Salahi, via video conferencing, he in Guantanamo and the court, I think in Washington, D.C. probably, he addresses the court and he said words to the effect, "In my country, people are afraid of the police." When I went to Germany, he went to Germany because he won a scholarship as a teenager to study there. So when I went to Germany, I experienced a people who were not afraid of the police, where the police and the law existed to protect them. And he expressed that he had faith that the same occurred in the United States of America. Salahi won his case. But even though he won his case, the Obama administration appealed the case, which resulted in Salahi spending another 7 years in confinement until he was finally freed after 14 years in confinement. People do not realize how important it is for a political regime to protect their population's rights, and especially their right to practice the religion of their choice. Throughout history, nations that sought to oppress a religion or a religious group or any group have never succeeded. The Roman Empire tried for 3 centuries to destroy Christianity. After 3 centuries, Constantine accepted Christianity, and Rome became the capital of what was known as the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church thrived and grew and continues until today, as the Roman Empire came to an end. The Nazis tried to exterminate Judaism by waging one of the most hideous examples of genocide, exterminating 6 million Jews. The Third Reich came to an end, and post-World War II Judaism went through a renaissance. The communist Soviet Union tried to eliminate all religion in 1917. After 72 years, in 1989, communism was relegated to the dustbin of history, and religion made a strong comeback in all of the Soviet republics. All the Middle Eastern nations that have not protected their Christian and Jewish minorities have suffered and spiraled towards becoming failed states. These include countries like Egypt, Syria, Yemen, and Tunisia, all of which had Jewish communities. Even Pakistan has not thrived, in part because of their negative treatment towards their Christian minority. On the other hand, nations that have protected their population's rights have been the nations where people from all over the world aspire to emigrate to. And it is no accident that these nations are also the most prosperous. These have tended to be the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. On the other hand, nations that have suppressed religious communities not only have not thrived, they suffered adverse economic consequences. It is therefore a negative mark against Israel and against Judaism that they have treated and continue to treat the Palestinians the majority of whom are Muslims, so poorly. When Israel treat the Palestinians well and protects their inalienable human rights, I have no doubt that Israel will thrive and prosper more than it is prospering right now. And the whole Middle Eastern region will increase in its thriving and prosperity. It is therefore also a very strong negative mark against the Modi regime in India and also against the current regime in China in how they have oppressed and continue to oppress their Muslim minorities. The United Arab Emirates, which was praised by someone from India at the event in Yale, there was a packed audience. In fact, when they opened the thing for people from Yale to register, it was packed. It was filled up in 2 hours. When they asked, for people to register online. This young lady who is living in Dubai with her husband and is part of an exchange program at Yale praised the United Arab Emirates. And in fact, I also knew that the UAE government had just recently provided land for the Hindu expatriates from India to be able to practice their religion. And this openness is certainly one important factor contributing to the prosperity that we all know of the UAE, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, and a further increase in its prosperity and popularity. The tragedy of all of this, brothers and sisters, is that no political regime has anything to gain from oppressing any portion of its citizens. Every regime needs to look to know that the happier and more fulfilled their citizens are, the greater they are as a nation and as a political regime. The more that people want to live in their country, the more prosperous it will become. This is because a nation's wealth is not primarily a measure of the oil it has, or gas reserves it has, or timber reserves, or other minerals. The wealth of a nation is a measure of the output of work, of effort, and of the creativity of its citizens. Oil was not valuable until humans invented the internal combustion engine. Timber is valuable because of what human creativity makes out of it. So at the root of all wealth is human creativity and the effort and work that goes into it and comes out as a result of the human creativity. Apple became one of the wealthiest companies in the world by virtue of the creativity of Steve Jobs and his team, who created and invented not only the laptop, the Mac, the iPhone, the iPad. They've become the top company in the world in terms of its value. So anytime you reduce the capacity of a nation's workforce, say by not allowing women to work, for example, like Afghanistan, or not allowing them to study, you have eliminated, in this case, half of the potential wealth that might be created by your country. Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was president of Egypt from 1952 until 1970, evicted the Jews from Egypt as a result of what happened in Palestine. But when he did this, he evicted all the wealth that this group had. He eliminated their expertise and experience, and he erased their work and effort that contributed to Egypt's GNP and the economy of the nation. The result was that the nation, Egypt, which was once one of the most popular and prosperous nations in the Middle East, began to spiral downwards and became poorer. So it is really stupid and self-defeating to evict any group from your nation. The results speak for themselves. As I pointed out, the Western countries like the United States and Canada, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, nations that protect all their citizens' rights, are nations where people prefer to migrate to. They're the most popular nations in the world. We therefore need to spread the message that if countries want to thrive, they must protect and advance the rights of all of their citizens, and especially their religious freedoms. This is as true of Israel as it is of Egypt, Pakistan, or any other nation. This is an important reason why I fear the possible return of Trump as President of the United States. He would abridge the rights of American citizens, and he would weaken the United States on the international stage and weaken its moral authority on that world stage. The world today, brothers and sisters, is collectively far more prosperous than it ever has been in human history. And this is because global trade and commerce is higher than it has ever been in human history. So therefore, in this season of Thanksgiving, let us be thankful for what we have as citizens of this country. Let us be thankful for what we know. Let us be thankful for our faith that Allah has blessed us with. And may we do all we can to spread this joy of faith in Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, let us pray to Allah that He may answer our prayers. ادعوا الله تعالى يستجب لي ولكم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا كما أمر، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له المتعالي عن المشاركة والمشاكلة لسائر البشر، ونشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله النبي المعتبر. واعلموا أن الله تعالى صلى على نبيه قديما، فقال تعالى: ولم يزل قائلا عليما وآمرا حكيما، تنبيه لكم وتعليما وتشريفا لقرن به وتعظيما، إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد، كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء السادة الحنفاء المميزين بعده بالرعاية والولاة والاصطفاء ذوي القدر العلي والفخر الجلي، ساداتنا وموالينا وأئمتنا أبي بكر الصديق وعمر وعثمان وعلي. وارض اللهم عن السبطين السعيدين السنن الشهيدين القمرين النيرين، سيد شباب أهل الجنة في الجنة وريحان نبي هذه الأمة، الإمام أبي محمد الحسن والإمام أبي عبد الله الحسين، وعن أمهما فاطمة الزهراء، وعن جدتهما خديجة الكبرى، وعن عائشة أم المؤمنين، وعن بقية أزواج رسول الله أجمعين، وعن التابعين وتابع التابعين وتابعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات، إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات يا رب العالمين. اللهم وأيد الإسلام وأعلي وانصر كلمة الحق والإيمان. اللهم اجعل خير زماننا آخرة وخير أعمالنا خواتيمها وخير أيامنا يوم لقائك، وارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك فينا ولا يرحمنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم أصلح أحوالنا وبلغنا مما يرضيك آمالنا، وأختم بالصالحات أعمالنا، وبالسعادة آجالنا، وتوفنا وأنت راض عنا يا رب العالمين. أسأل الله العظيم رب العرش الكريم أن يغفر لي ولكم والمسلمين أجمعين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وأقم الصلاة.